to kind of voice opinions for either their orgs or themselves about Kennedy's nomination. And towards the end, we'll talk a little bit about what you can do next, how to get involved, how to stop Kennedy's appointment as president.
Yeah. We're Frankies.
I don't know, we're Frankies.
I mean, given how defensive they got.
Frankie, what's the next one?
Racist, sexist, anti-gay, Kennedy must go away. 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 Our campus!
Whose campus?
Our campus!
Whose campus?
Our campus!
We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud.
We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud. We're students, we're loud, we're organized and proud.
Thank you, Gulf community, for coming out today. As you are all aware, we are gathering today to reject Mark Kennedy as the next University of Colorado president, and we are out here to gather to reject. We are out here to reject the Board of Regents' ridiculous decision-making process, which ignores student voices, ignores faculty voices, ignores staff voices.
Yeah.
We are here. as a Buff community, and as a larger University of Colorado community. Very soon, we are going to hear from a range of speakers talking about their personal and group concerns about this egregious choice. But just as some spoilers, we are going to hear about how this person legitimately was a co-sponsor for a constitutional amendment to make people second-class citizens due to their sexual orientation. We are going to hear about how Mark Kennedy was an awful business person who made the 4 big businesses he ran, that's why he's good, lose money and in some cases get bought out. We're going to hear about how he's a terrible president by his most famous claim to presidency is pissing off a rich donor. And we're also going to hear about how he's harassed people under his control, how people do not feel safe with him at the helm. And then we're going to talk about the regents, how their transparent process had exactly 2 students from the University of Colorado system have a say, have exactly 4 faculty have a say on the search committee. And that number 4 is the same number of business leaders they listen to. It is completely disingenuous for the Board of Regents to say they care about our voices, and that is why we have this 14-day period if they are going to select one person, if they're going to do it after such an egregious process. So today, while we're out here, we need to remember, this is the first step, not the last step. We will stop Mark Kennedy from becoming president of the University of Colorado system. And we will show that student voices matter. So someone is going to come up and lead a chant, and then we're going to have our first real speaker. So thank you all for being out here.
Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right!
Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Education is a right!
Hey, hey! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go!
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go!
Hey y'all, my name is Tony. I am a freshman here at the University of Colorado Boulder. I'm also a proud Chicano. I'm also a part of UMass Mecha and the most honorable Sigma Lambda Beta International Fraternity Incorporated. I'm here to speak on my experience as a marginalized group in this community, and I just want to let everyone know that before I start, I do not speak for all students of color, but I do think that many students of color can relate to my experience here on campus. So, dear Board of Regents and CU, I can only speak upon my experience, although I think my experiences are relatable to other marginalized groups here on campus. We are deeply saddened about your choice to elect Mark Kennedy as the sole finalist for CU's new president position. We understand, and we've done our research about Kennedy, and his actions have spoke louder than his words. The ways that he runs run this school, which tends to focus more on business than the actual students. Kennedy has a rich conservative past while his time in Congress. Despite his voting record, we've heard from you, the university, and Kennedy saying he's quote-unquote changed, although his actions from his time at the University of North Dakota prove otherwise. Although I would say his credentials seem quite worthy, we need to see someone for more than what they are than just the credentials. Look at our current political climate. Did Donald Trump not have the credentials? Yes, he did. But look at where we are today, in a world that is full of hate. Although I would say his credentials seem quite worthy, we need someone more than just their credentials. We need someone who can accurately represent all students here on campus, especially the marginalized ones. We are tired of you providing us with programs that have forced us into the depths of the campus which no one can find. We are tired of reporting the racist remarks from not only students, but from professors and no action being taken. Students of color, you slap our faces on every brochure and chant you can at this university, yet when we go into lecture halls, we are the only people in those lecture halls. Being on this campus has been emotionally draining. Especially when as people of color and marginalized groups, we have to relive our traumas to make others understand. By allowing Mark Kennedy to become the sole president of all 4 of these campuses, you are telling your marginalized population that you don't support them as students, but you rather support the business aspect of this university, which also makes me and a lot of other students upset and angry because we're not here to be profitable. We are up here to obtain a higher education, and frankly, a majority of us work tooth and bone to get here, to only find out that when we do get here, we're not welcome and we're not supported. So fellow students, I ask that you help us continue to not only hold Kennedy responsible for his past actions because that has affected our present, but you also hold the university responsible because we deserve more than the bare minimum. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey!
Salazar.
Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey!
Actually, my full name is Anthony Salazar.
Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kennedy has got to go!
Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight. Education is a right. Corporate greed, we must fight.
When we talk about Mark Kennedy, we need to be frank. He is a businessman, and he will continue the process of turning our education into a business. I wouldn't even be surprised if the reasons chose him because they plan to privatize CU Boulder. But as students, workers, and educators, we know that this is a problem. We know that education we know that education is a right. We know that education strengthens communities, changes lives, and gives us the tools to change the world. The Regent's choice of Kennedy sends a clear message to students who can't afford to go out of state. Working class students will perpetually remain in debt. Student workers, RAs, and graduate workers will continue to be exploited. And education will remain an elite institution used to cement capitalist control of society. Education for profit sees the most vulnerable students and workers at this university not as people who enrich the institution, but only numbers who are expendable for the almighty bottom line. The real goal of education for profit is not safety, but this, and not freedom to learn about ourselves and the surrounding world, but profit and nothing else. This would be a disaster for CU, and we have already seen examples of CU administrators trying to run this school like a business. The unilateral consolidation of student identity centers and graduate wage theft come to mind. So what do? We need to send an equally clear message. The students and workers who run this university reject Mark Kennedy. We at CU Boulder do not support this man. And if our voices are not respected and a new democratic process is not immediately implemented, then we should use our collective power. We should strike. We should shut down campus. And we should show the Regents that we have more power. This university runs because workers say it runs. As students, we need to support any and all disruptions by the graduate workers and explain in our classrooms the need to create safe learning environments. As workers, we need to work with our coworkers about the necessity of opposing Kennedy in the workplace and the need for collective strike action to oppose him. And as revolutionaries, we need to fight for free education from the cradle to the grave and for total forgiveness of student loan debt by expropriating fuckers like Kennedy.